So my manager came in. We were all sitting down in this ballroom, hundreds of young men on the phone, right? Ready and willing to go to combat, to close, men that they didn't even know on the other side of the phone. They were asking for money, raising money, right? But the most important thing that this manager said is, don't you ever pitch while you are sitting down. He came, kicked a chair from under me and said, get your ass up, Rafa. From that moment on, I never sat down to pitch, even to this day. Hey guys, welcome back to the Man of War channel. My name is Rafa Conde, of course, a man on a mission here to transform you, to guide you along the way of the warrior's path. All right, today what I want to talk about is just a little bit about my Wall Street background and why I went into Wall Street and why it taught me so much. Now, late in the 1990s, I stepped into Wall Street. It was a friend of the family who introduced me. And the first thing that I did was when I walked into this room, and if you've read my book, you kind of get a drift of what I'm talking about. I walked into this huge office, right? It was like a football field big. And all I saw was cubicles and then a bunch of desks stacked up right next to each other. Young men, probably between the ages of 20 and 28 years old, all suited up, right, to the highest of levels. They were pitching away, constantly on the phone. Most of them had headsets and just out there moving, running around, just very, very energetic. As I made the turn here, I went into this glass office, right? And as I walked into this glass office, I see two Italian men standing there. They were probably in their mid-30s, and I never forget their look on their face. It was like, who the fuck are you, right? And I sat down, and we started to have a very, very powerful conversation, right? All about, where the fuck do you want to go over the next couple of years? Do you want to drive, they asked me, cars like that? And I looked out the window, I see Ferraris and Porsches and Mercedes and Lamborghinis, and I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Keep in mind, this is in the late 1990s. And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. But then I changed and I said, no, of course I will. I will get to a point where I'm driving exotic cars. I will get to a point where I'm living in beautiful homes. I will get to a point in my life where I'm going to be able to have enough money to do whatever the fuck I want to do. That was my mindset. All right. And the most important part of this whole conversation was that as I spoke to them and they were asking me questions like, what am I made of? What's the most difficult things that I've ever done? Are you prepared to work 12, 15 hours a day? Are you prepared to get shut down? Because some days they were nasty. You wouldn't close anybody and you would put your head down. But what I learned so much from here, from being part of this, was resiliency and tenacity. Now, going back to this conversation, they're looking at me and saying, well, let's see what you got. Let's see what you have. Let me see you bring it to the table here. And young man, let me say this to you. You do not walk in here dressed like a piece of shit. You walk in here dressed in suits. That's how we operate in this environment. Keep in mind, later, I found out that they were a chop house. I found out that they were dealing fucking penny stocks. And 2 weeks after I left the firm, the FBI raided it. And well, that's another story for another video. But regardless, my point here is this. The whole energy that was surrounding this environment was a very forward-going energy. It was very positive, very driven. People ask me, why the hell would I go into Wall Street? Why the hell would I become a stockbroker? Well, I studied charting, right? Looking at stocks. And at that time, you would throw a dart to the Wall Street Journal, and whatever stock you hit, that sucker was going up, right? Especially in the technology sector. And I was so in tune with using this mindset, right? This resiliency, this tenacity to understand stocks and to be able to pick them and then study them and then give them to my clients so they could prosper and make money. And in return, I would make money. My whole goal when I went into Wall Street was to be the highest top producing son of a bitch out there. The guy that went out there and stepped up to the next level. I didn't just want to be the guy racking in a couple of $100,000 a year. I wanted to be the big honcho, the head honcho. I thought becoming the best version of who I was best suited by me going to war and understanding these stocks. But the war really happened on the phone, getting clients from all over the world, from Singapore, from United Kingdom, all over Australia, United States. We would sit there and we would speak to people at all times of the day and night. And these were strangers that we would be bothering in the middle of their dinners with their families and in the middle of work. But there was so much energy and so much technique. We learned all these different pitches, all these rebuttals, and we had them ingrained in our brain. I mean, I must have studied these pitches and these rebuttals over and over and over again for I don't even know how long. But with that said, I came with a sincere heart. I came into Wall Street for truly one reason, and that was to help people grow their money and grow financially, and in return I would grow. I didn't come in there just to make money. I really wanted to go in and help others, right? Because in reality, I wasn't the kind of guy that was a greedy son of a bitch. I just wasn't, right? I was a kind of guy that really wanted to become the best version of myself, but not so much just to show off to other people, but really to see how far I can get. In Bushido, right, the way of the samurai, it's all about sharpening your sword. And I really felt that this would have sharpened my mind, my body, and my spirit without a doubt. So here I am working my ass off and really growing within this company, first company. And then the next thing is I take my Series 7 exam. That was an entire story altogether. I took classes before to make sure that I would pass this thing. The first time I sat there, it was just like, holy shit. It was a tough exam from what I remember back then. Maybe it's because I'm dumb as fuck, but I tell you right now that it was difficult. But the reality is, I kept on moving. I got my Series 7, I got my Series 24, I got my Series this, that. The next thing you know, I left the firm and I went to another firm that was a pretty credible firm, and then I left there and I went independent and started my own branch, my own little office, right? And then I built another office, a bigger office. As I grew, and I grew with a partner initially, and then I broke away and kind of went my way. All I can tell you is it was a very powerful experience for me to be part of something so dynamic and so energetic. I learned so much about resiliency. I learned so much about mindset. I learned so much about closing and never ever giving up on a sale. I learned so much about emotional contact with someone, about psychological warfare was the whole game, right? How people would react on the phone. Look, and the bottom line is that I can say men because we never pitched the bitch. That was against all protocol. Never pitched the bitch, right? We never spoke to women. That's just the name of the game. All right, we were constantly attacking men, and that was the goal, right? To get, when you were talking to these men, you would have to get into their head, right? You would have to understand who they were. You would have to understand truly what they wanted in their lives. And then if these men were real traders, and if these men were men who wanted to trade stock and really build wealth and build their assets and make money in the market, you needed to know who you had on the other side of the phone. Even though these were pre-qualified leads, one thing that Wall Street taught me is that no matter what, people may be cheap, people may not believe you, people may not understand what you're bringing to the table. So we had to be 100% clear with what we were selling. And as I grew and I became a top producer on Wall Street, I can go back now, years and years later, and truly look back and say, I learned a tremendous amount of that warrior mindset. I learned a tremendous amount about myself, and the skills that I learned are invaluable to me in this day and age. I believe that a good portion of what I learned there, I still use today. And more importantly, it has helped me get to where I am today. All right, guys, it's a little bit about my background, a little bit about Wall Street. I get a lot of questions about it. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, if you're liking this content regarding walking this warrior's way, this warrior's path, I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, share the hell out of this content, and of course, like this video. I appreciate you, and may God bless you.